Hello there duelists, and welcome back to another Sear Slubs deck profile. Today I've got budget Power Rangers on the playmat today with Super Quantum, or Super Quantal, depending on your selection of card choice. So Super Quantum are an archetype that came out in Winged Raiders, and I've kind of had the deck built since that period, even when Red Layer was quite expensive at that point, especially for kind of a casual deck. Super Quantum focus on kind of XYZing fast and hard using only one card with the aid of their field spell. It's kind of like a precursor to Zodiac, some might say. Although it's much more on the casual side of things than Zodiac's. So let's go get into the deck profile. Very much kind of taking a Monster Mash variant on Super Quantums. I've seen a few builds running various Super Quantum spells and traps. In my opinion, it feels like your best bet is to err on the side of spamming out as many of your, Super Quantum XYZs, and eventually trying to aim for the Great King Magnus. So I'm kind of maxing out on all of the Super Quantum cards. Really, there's not actually that many main deck cards, so it's not like you've got your Black Wings or Heroes where there's a variety of choice and you've got to filter out all the crap ones. So Super Quantums have got an effect on normal or special summon, and then also an effect on send to the graveyard, which on the surface of it sounds absolutely amazing, especially when you start off with something like Blue Layer where it's normal or special summon. You can add a Super Quant card from your deck to your hand. They're weirdly split up into Super Quantum and Super Quantal. So the kind of layers, or the pilots of the ships, are all Super Quantum and also layers. And everything else is kind of like Super Quantal, so that's the extra deck cards and also like the field spell and stuff like that. So yeah, Blue Layer adds a Super Quant card, which is basically anything. And then if it's sent to the graveyard, you can target up to 3 Super Quant cards and kind of shuffle them back into your deck, which includes himself, which can be useful for recycling cards because you do motor through once you kind of get your combo started. From there we've got Super Quantum Green Layer. So Green Layer on normal summon allows you to normal or special, should I say, allows you to special summon one out from your hand. So another Super Quant monster from your hand. And if sent to the graveyard, you can discard a Super Quant card to draw a card. I would say he's the worst one, but I think he's still worth running, and he's not a bad, kind of extender and stuff like that. And then Super Quantum Red Layer. So Red Layer's got kind of like an additional thing where he can special summon himself out from your hand if you don't control any monsters, which is kind of why you see him be used for like the Fire Warrior combos and stuff like that. When he's normal special summoned, you can target a Super Quant card in your graveyard and add it back to your hand, and then if he's sent to the graveyard, you can special summon a Super Quant card from your graveyard, but it cannot activate its effects, which is kind of different from its effects being negated, but there you go. So he's a genuinely really good card, and I tend not to see him, which is really sad. And from there it's Super Quantum White Layer, and we're only 3 of this guy, and he's actually newer. So he wasn't in the Winged Raiders set, and when I heard that we were getting some support, I thought these guys could be really good. Unfortunately, I just don't think it was quite enough. This guy's he's good, but he's just not, the surrounding stuff wasn't quite enough. So you can send a non-light Super Quant monster to special summon him. When you summon him, you can also dump a Super Quant card from your deck to your graveyard, and he becomes that attribute and level. So you can morph his level to, let's say, if you were going to send Red Layer, he'd become level 5 and Fire, which means you can go to the Fire one's XYZ monster. And then if you send to the graveyard, you can add a Fairy Alphan from your deck or graveyard to your hand, which is quite useful. And then Fairy Alphan, I'm running 3 of, so this is kind of probably the normal summon in the Super Quantal cards or Super Quantum cards. So you can make all the levels be the same, and then you can also tribute Fairy Alphan to pick 3 Super Quantum cards, send them, and your opponent randomly picks one of them, you special summon that one, the rest goes to the graveyard. So, between picking Red Layer, Blue Layer and White Layer, you can get some really good resources off Fairy Alphan. You have got to be a bit lucky, but when it all comes together, it's really, really cool. And I suppose that randomness does give it a bit of fun, I suppose, a bit of fun factor. There you go, spoiler alert for the end of the video. From there, I'm running a plant engine just to try and get bodies on board. So Generally what I've found is that I want to start with Ophrys Scorpio, loop into Sauravis, and then be able to special summon, after digging for some cards. So Ophrys Scorpio, discard a monster, special summon Predaplant monster from your deck, which will be Darlingtonia Cobra, and when that's special summoned you can add a Polymerization or a Fusion. And then we've got 3 Lonefire Blossoms to back that up. And then from there we've also got 3 Evil Thorn. So Evil Thorn, you contribute it to special summon another 2 Evil Thorns, which does add, there are a few bricks in the deck, don't get me wrong, but I think you kind of need it to, to dig for your key pieces. And from there I'm running 3 Effect Veiler as my hand trap. It's a reasonably budget deck, but you could pick whatever hand trap you want. And then I'm running 2 Sauravis as kind of like a replacement for Call by the Grave. So this guy, you can, when a monster activates a card or effect that targets a monster, you can discard it, negate that effect. It's also, I suppose, maybe slightly better than Call by the Grave in the certain instance that you can discard it with Ophrys Scorpio, but I can't say it's more versatile than Call by the Grave. And as you can tell, the main monster zone was quite chocked, so this is quite a small spell section, but we're running 3 Super Quantal Mech Ship Magnacarrier, which is a field spell, so it's searchable via Terraforming, so it's also searchable via blue layer, and you kind of really want this guy on board, so you discard a card, target Super Quantum monster you control, and special summon a monster from the extra deck with the same attribute as that monster. So you go from your red layer to your your red XYZ, should we say. And then you can target 3 XYZ monsters, or 3 XYZ monsters with different attributes, and then put them all together and then special summon Great King Magnus over the top of them. So if you've used all of your 3 and they're in the graveyard, then you can bunch them all together and make Great King Magnus, which is the way that I feel like the deck plays best. You turn 1, you put up a few disruptions with your XYZs, and then second turn you go to Great King Magnus using the Magnacarrier. From there I've got 1 Terraforming to search the Great Magnacarrier, and then I'm running 1 Call by the Grave. Don't know if anybody noticed, but that got limited on the most recent Forbidden and limited list, which is not ideal. And from there I'm running a bunch of extenders. So I'm running the 1 Instant Fusion, which is searchable via the Predaplant combo. I'm running 1 Emergency Teleport, because thankfully blue layer is a psychic. I'm running 1 Monster Reborn for for kind of the extension, and then I'm running 1 for 1 to go to the Alphan. It hurts massively when you get ashed or whatever it is, but I still think it's worth playing. I was running Reasoning for a while actually as well. That's not a bad extender. And again, like the fact that Call by the Grave is now at 1 means Ash hurts dramatically, and we were always kind of losing to Nibiru anyway, if I'm being absolutely honest. And then finally the Foolish Burial, which you could swap out, but I quite like the versatility of what you can send, because all of the Super Quantum cards get effects when they're sent to the graveyard. Okay, and then onto the extra deck. So I'm running 1 Giltia, which is my fusion of choice. It doesn't need to be this. I kind of prefer running a level 5, just because I think that the level 5 XYZ is the hardest to get to, so the extension's quite good, but normally it's getting linked off anyway. So yeah, choose that as you will. I'm running 2 Super Quantal Mech Beast Grampulse. So this can detach 1 to pop a spell or trap card, and it's quick while you've got blue layer, which is common to all of the XYZs. If they've got the corresponding pilot, so blue for blue, green for green, etc., then the effects are quick. It can also do the standard Super Quantal Mech Beast effect, which is attach a pilot from your field or hand. From there, I've got Super Quantal Mech Beast Ouroboros. So this guy's got, all the similar effects. He's quick when he's got a green layer attached. He can attach pilots from hand. And he's also a Book of Moon, which is quite useful. Again, that's a solid disruption effect for your opponent's turn. And then we've got 2 Super Quantal Mech Beast Magnacarrier. So this guy's exactly the same, apart from he's got a quick monster pop. So again, that's not bad. And then finally, newer. I'm saying newer. These, it's got to be at least a year that these guys came out. But Super Quantal Mech Beast Lusterex. So this is you know, for the white layer that came out. And again, it's a solid card. It's just, it would have been nice to have, I don't know, maybe some spells that, you know, that helped out the deck a bit more. Anyway, so you basically, this guy's the same, and you can detach to effect Veiler effect, so target, negate that effect. It is worth mentioning as well, actually, that all the Super Quantal Mech beasts can't attack if they don't have any pilots, so that is something that you've got to be a little bit wary of. And then finally, the big guy himself, Super Quantal Mech King Great Magnus. So this guy's got an absolute bunch of effects. So if you send to the graveyard, you special summon back 3 Super Quantal Mech Beast XYZ monsters. So that's quite good, because it means that even if he dies, you've still got kind of like protection and stuff like that. And then he gains a bunch of effects depending on how many materials he's got. And obviously, if you've got a couple of XYZs with materials and then use the field spell to produce Great Magnus, then he can gain a load of materials. So 2 or more, you can detach an XYZ material to non-target spin, which is really good. 4 or more is unaffected by card effects, except Super Quant cards. Some people play, like, I think there's an equip spell or something like that, but again, I'm choosing not to do that. And then 6 or more, your opponent can't add card effects from the deck to hand. So that's, you know, he's super solid, and if you get this boy out, he's a real hard nut to crack. From there, I'm running a few Link monsters to kind of like get the ball rolling, so I'm running 1 Link Karibo. This is basically because Evil Thorn produces 2 Evil Thorns, and then you want to go to Shariuja with differently named monsters, so you Link Karibo over the top of one of them. Cross Sheep is kind of going for our, you know, Predaplant engine, so you Predaplant into Predaplant, search the instant fusion. I don't know why I struggle with that so hard. You then use the instant fusion to get back a monster underneath Cross Sheep, and then that special summons another monster back, and you've kind of got, you know, a decent amount of monsters. And then running 1 Neo Super Quantal Mech King Blaster Magnet, and again he was one of the newer ones. So you can't be destroyed by opponent's card effects, and then each time a Super Quant XYZ monster is summoned beneath him, you can draw a card. And then if an XYZ monster that he points to is destroyed, you can special summon a layer from your deck of the same attribute. So if, you know, the Luster X dies, you can summon the white layer. I mean, again, he wasn't bad. The fact that he's a Link 3 is just a bit tragic, really. And he's not even, you know, he requires a Super Quant monster as well, so you can't even kind of like churn him out with generics. I think if he'd been a Link 2, it would have been a lot different, but the fact that he's a Link 3 is just a bit too high of an investment. And then 1 Sauravis Skuldred, just to kind of get through that plant engine, dig for combos, and then you can special summon off there and you know, hopefully meet the combo. Alright, so in conclusion, Super Quantums are a really nifty idea, and again I suppose they're very akin to Zodiac in that way, and kind of a precursor to that idea. The investment is maybe a bit too high, and again I'm definitely continuing on with my casual crusade by kind of doing a profile on these guys. I don't think they're going to be, you know, knocking on the door of the meta anytime soon. So in terms of meta relevance, I'm going to say a 2. I think in a casual setting, you know, they'll definitely squeeze out a win, and if you can get to a decent enough board on your first turn, that's great. They can break boards, you know, just with their, you know, red layer or blue layer XYZ monsters effects, you know, pop and spell and trap cards and stuff like that. But anything that, you know, prevents targeting, these guys are going to have a real hard time getting over, unless you can get to Great Magnus. So in terms of fun factor, I'd say they are really, you know, enjoyable. I think the fact that the Fairy Alphan is random means that you're always forced to come up with new and interesting ways to kind of duck and weave your way through to the finish line, which is, you know, normally that Great Magnus. So I'm going to give them a 4 for fun factor. In terms of costs, these guys are relatively budget. I mean, I think a lot of the cards that even used to be expensive, you know, like Skuldred and, you know, Red Layer and stuff like that, have all had a few reprints now. So, you know, it's definitely a more budget-friendly deck. So I've got this variant of the deck coming in at about $120, estimated via TCG Player. So what do you guys think? Do you think you could morph these guys into a meta-relevant strategy? Thanks for watching, and check out the channel for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Profiles.